Hi guys, it's Tracy in Australia and I've popped in to share my latest project, which was actually a very long time in the making. It went way over what I had anticipated and planned. Okay, it's a debutante wedding journal and it was inspired by Mare Lilac and also my friend Kim Becker, who made an absolutely beautiful debutante journal. I've actually called mine Wallflower because it sat on my table for so long and just didn't seem to be going anywhere, but she's finally finished, and as you can see, she's quite a gator mouth. I've never made a journal with a gator mouth before, and it hadn't been my intention, but it is what it is. So the cover is from an old book that I've repurposed and I've had to extend it. The spine is 3.5 inches wide and I wanted to make that look like it had fallen apart and been put back together and decorated. And I also had to widen the front cover. So on the front, I made a mold frame and put a little photo in there, and then I've used this beautiful lace to decorate. So I wanted there to be lots of dangly pieces on the edge here. There's a little pin, a little piece. This is quite a heavy locket, and I made some orange blossoms to go in that. And then there's other little bits and pieces, a lace that sticks out as well. Okay, let's go in and have a look. This is a beautiful blush pink satin ribbon. It's quite heavy because when I tried seam binding, it was just not strong enough to hold her closed. So I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to put some lace down here. I chose this fabric to cover the hidden spine because it's got lots of beautiful gold embroidery, and the end papers on the actual book have gold as well. It doesn't come out that well in the camera, but it's there. So this is my first page, and I added this little quote from Jane Austen. If adventures will not befall a young lady in her own village, she must seek them abroad. And that starts the story of our debutante. So she's an American girl. Both her mother and her grandmother were presented at court in London. And so they've decided that she will do the same thing. And this is set about 1895, 96, and I get quite fixated about these periods and have to research and read, and I have a lot of fun. So I put this little quill in there, and that's held in by a little bit of silver thread, a little collage here, the debutante as a young girl, and then a young lady. There's a French book page. And this one here is a little Regency style letter. And we're going to say that her grandmother wrote that, or it was in her grandmother's papers. And here is our beautiful grandmother here, who was a debutante during the Regency period. Beautiful portrait, a little bit of ephemera. And some Regency images. Regency presentation gowns were quite something, and it's very interesting to read about those. Our debutante is making her debut in about 1896, 97, so hers is quite different. This is, of course, Mum, who makes her debut at the beginning of Queen Victoria's reign. So we're going to say like, you know, around 1840 when she was married. So I loved this image, and it was actually the one that Mare Lilac used on her cover, and I loved it because it had this little dog. So I had to track that down and use it, because I'm a bit of a poodle nut. I love these. This is very old tulle, and it's very soft blush pink, and I've put little pearls to hold it down. And I put this little locket here because Queen Victoria was married in 1814, and she had orange blossoms on the headpiece that held her veil, and she actually set a lot of the trends for weddings with her own wedding. So here we have the beautiful presentation portrait, and here a debutante being presented to a very young Queen Victoria. And our little debutante has to travel to Paris, of course, to organise her court presentation dress and all of the other things that she will need as a debutante, because of course there's a lot of parties and dinners and dancing and things to attend. Isn't this just beautiful? And that slides out. The paper and the one behind it are from Pixie Dust Files. You can see all my gorgeous wedding appliques. This one was gifted to me by Kim. I had, I think, 2 wedding dresses with bits and pieces, and you know, I always pick things up at the opportunity shop. So just to show you that we're on our way to Paris. And I got quite fascinated by 1895 because of these amazing sleeves. For a very short couple of years, huge sleeves were the fashion. Look at them, they're amazing. I love this little one because there's a poodle in the background. And yeah, just had so much fun researching about that fashion trend. Look at them. I just love these. This is actually a piece of antique lace. It's handmade. It's absolutely beautiful. And this was a perfect opportunity to use it. So I've used vintage wedding pieces, new ones, all sorts of different things. I love this trim. Here we have, you can see the huge sleeves. Aren't they amazing? Young ladies' evening wear. And I thought she would have to take her grandmother's silhouette, which was done during the Regency. And look at this gorgeous fabric with the sequins and the embroidery. And I love printing receipts onto tissue paper. It can be a little bit tricky at times, but they just look amazing. So, of course, you couldn't have a presentation gown without considering having it made by Charles Worth. And this is a museum piece that's held from that period, and absolutely beautiful. What a tiny waist. And then this is a Worth gown that appeared on the cover of Harper's magazine, Harper's Bazaar magazine, 1893. And you can tell it's an evening dress because of tiny sleeves and more of a plunging neckline. There's a bit of a train. Modern Manners, a book of etiquette, and I just identified a few pieces that were to do with court presentations. Under Queen Victoria, the rules became quite formal, and you had to have a certain kind of dress and follow lots of rules. And of course, you had to be presented by a lady of good standing who'd already been presented herself. And the reason that they wore white was that you were supposed to be of a moral and social standing, and that's signified by the white dress. You had to have a train. There had to be feathers. If you were married, you had 2 feathers. no, 3. If you were unmarried, you had 2 feathers, and they had to be styled a certain way. Okay, so this is the second signature. There's quite a bit of room there to allow the pages to stand out. So once our debutante has her wardrobe and her gown, she makes her way to London to a family friend and undertakes the process of presentation. So the presentation actually occurred during the day, and you could be waiting for hours and hours. But before that and after that, lots of dancing, lots of dinner parties, picnics, all sorts of fun things to do. So I've just included some little bits of ephemera to reflect that. And of course, every debutante, they would all know each other and form friendships. And so I just included those little bits. Love this embossing folder. It perfectly matches that digital. This beautiful beaded piece from a wedding gown. So Queen Victoria was married in 1840 and set a lot of the fashions. She was quite a romantic, and that you can see that reflected in the Victorian era. There's lots of correspondence, you know, the way you use your fan, the way you carry your parasol, what flowers you get sent. All of those things have romantic meanings. And of course, it was a very strict, there were very strict social rules, and especially around the chastity of young ladies. So this is presentation, a court presentation. You can see all the ladies with the plumes. They've got the short sleeves and clearly evening dresses, the trains, and Queen Victoria. So the last presentation that Queen Victoria did was in the late 1890s. She died in 1901. And court presentations still went on, and even under Queen Elizabeth, and she ended them in 1958. So, but they'd become quite different by then. So this represents the ostrich plumes, and here we have our gown, which is actually that's a photo of a Worth gown. And here we have our debutante. So it was quite, sorry about that reflection, quite standard to get your photograph, get a portrait in your presentation gown. And along the way, we meet Mr. Right. And like I said, lots of correspondence, little cards, Valentine's Day, you know, sending little bouquets, meeting at parties, all of those sorts of things. And I'm going to, I think, fix that there. This is Garrard's, the jewellers, and they were jewellers to Queen Victoria and right through until the Elizabethan, right through until I think the 1970s. That's where Princess Di's ring came from. They made a lot of jewellery for the royal family. So once you're engaged, it's back to Paris for the wedding dress and the trousseau. So a married lady requires quite different clothing to a debutante. And you can see the wedding dress, long sleeves, high neckline, This is so pretty. Lots of little sequins, little bits of lace, embroidery, pearls. And the gown would have been made of satin. It wasn't until the Edwardian period that they were made of very light sorts of laces. And here we have an illustration of Westminster Abbey. So if you're a certain standard of nobility, you're able to get married at Westminster Abbey. And of course, if you live within the precinct of the Westminster Abbey, there we have the wedding dress. And I have to thank Kim Becker for this idea. I love how that looks. This is the edging from a veil, an old veil, and I love how it curls. And she did this on hers, and I just loved it. So I've added it to mine, and then let the veil go over the photo that sits in that frame. And here I've just put lots of little bits of memorabilia. There's an image of wax orange blossoms, and I think in this little envelope there are some sequins, just little bits and pieces kept as mementos. And once we're married, and weddings took place around noon, and then you had a wedding breakfast. And Victorian wedding cakes could be quite amazing. And then we are off on the honeymoon. And I have some photos that I'm going to leave here that about the honeymoon. Okay, there we have it. My wallflower journal. It was quite an undertaking, and at times I didn't like her, but she's done now. Okay guys, I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.